medievale, ma c'è un'anima rinascimentale poco conosciuta. In occasione del quinto centenario della morte di Giulia Farnese, avvenuta il 23 marzo 1524, in compagnia di esperti di gioielli, abiti, palazzi, famiglie, parleremo di Rinascimento, dalla domenica al giovedì, alle 21:30 sui canali social di Tuscia In Fiore per parlare di I thought I was done with Giulia Farnese. It was a fantastic march going towards the 23rd of March. It is the 500th anniversary of Giulia's death. I thought I was done. We did the vernissage in Piazza del Comune, and the mostra of Giulia Farnese, the art exhibit, is now traveling in Italy. Right now is in Civita di Bagnoregio, the dying city. But something happened to me. I am thrilled to say that I had an incredible surprise. But let me see if I can speak with an expert. Her name is Letizia Sinisi. She is the absolute expert of routing or Italian routing, and she will tell us what it is. Let's see if we can get there. Letizia, good evening. How are you?
Good evening to everybody. Fine, thanks. Thanks for the invitation.
Oh, we are happy to have you. It looks like we can hear you okay. Can you hear us okay now?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good, very good. So, and we have a special guest. But before we go for it, let's try to understand what is ItalyRooting. Can you please tell us?
Yes. Okay. ItalyRooting originates from the word rooting, that in nature is a push that our roots give us. It's a call to roots, basically energy that roots give to us in order to a new life, in order to give us a new life. So when a plant is damaged by a storm, for example, after a certain time, taking energies from its roots, it starts blowing again and blooming and blooming and blooming. So it's a natural movement towards life. And that's because we are talking about now about routists instead of tourists, basically travelers that have Italian descendants, take advantage, take energy from their roots, and they want to come back to their roots. So it's a new way of naming the roots tourism, which for us it's rooting. And so it's rootism instead of
tourism. I deal with the same kind of idea, but I am not as philosophical as you are. I just hope that Americans or people from all over the world that have an Italian connection will come and bring us a lot of money. Am I too superficial?
No, you can see things from different perspectives. So basically, what makes the roots tourism more or less a commercial affair is the motivation and also the generation to which the descendant belongs to. So if you are a second, third generation, so with memories that come from a direct connection with your ancestors, then you are more emotional about your roots, and you want to know more. While if you are a younger generation, then you see all this as just a discovery of your DNA. But in both cases, you can make a business. But what I mean is that rooting is an experiential experience, an experiential travel, but it's that experience is your life. So it's something that is quite different from other experiential types of tourism.
So Letizia, let me tell you just a little story. Somebody named Pamela contacted me a little while ago, and she told me that she saw one of these live shows that I've been doing with a place called Onano, very small, super small place. and she was in the process of getting her son the citizenship, and she needed a little bit of help. Sure enough, in a couple of telephone calls, we solved the issue, and the son is going to get the citizenship, and he's going to come to Tuscia In Fiore. So from our first telephone call and conversation, a lot of water went under the bridge, and now we can make it happen the way you envisioned, I don't know how many years ago. Congratulations, you have been a visionary leader. Congrats.
Thank you very much. I started over 15 years ago, but starting from a personal immigration story.
So one aspect, which is what connects us with tonight, is also the cultural rooting, no? Because of course, Italy is such a strong country when it gets to history and culture and teaching, for example, with the Renaissance, what beauty is and so forth. And I did in March a lot of special on Giulia Farnese, and another lucky shot, an incredible guest told me, hey, I'm here. I am such and such. I'm going to ask him, Bob, to tell us who he is. But before, I'm going to give our guests in general a little hint of what it could be. So this is the picture of a very, very famous Pope connected with Giulia Farnese. But let's hear from our guests. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce Bob Sorrentino. Bob, good evening. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. And it's a pleasure to be here with you and Letizia.
Our pleasure. So I understand you know Letizia very well, right?
Yes, we've been working together now for, I guess, about 5 years, something like that. Maybe more, maybe 6, going on 6.
So Bob, I don't know, I don't want to embarrass you or anything, but we are in World Vision. Everybody from the world could look at us. So please tell us, where are you located at the moment?
I'm in Bradley Beach, New Jersey, so about 60 miles south of New York City.
And you, Letizia, where are you?
I usually live in Rome, but now I am in Puglia.
And I am in Tuscia, just a little north of Rome, where Letizia lives. Right. Okay, so Bob, here is the picture. Can you please tell us what this picture has anything to do with you?
He's my 14th great-grandfather, Alessandro Farnese, and his sister was Giulia Farnese, who would be my 14th great-grand aunt.
I wanted to give a second to let the news sit in, so to say, or sediment. This is fantastic, Letizia. This is really thrilling, right?
Yes, I think that Bob has a long story to tell us. In fact, I met him when, after long years of research, of genealogy research, he discovered actually to have noble ancestors and such an interesting story. So I'm quite fascinated by his story, and he continues actually discovering and discovering, researching and researching. And it's like touching the story when you meet Bob. Actually, you touch centuries of stories.
This is so exciting. So Bob, you were very proud to send me the picture I just showed. Who is this guy? This guy looks like Alessandro Farnese.
Well, he is, that's Prince Marino II, Prince Marino Caracciolo, Prince of Avellino, and he is my 9th great-grandfather. The story is really goes back to maybe when I was 10 years old, and we had the photo book at home, the old photo book with the black pages and little corners where you put things in. And my grandmother, Luisa Piomalo, brought back from Italy the cards of her father, Nicola Piomalo. And on that card, it said, De Duchi di Capocota. And my mother would tell me that my father's grandfather was a duke or count or something like that. but never really went into the story. Nobody ever really talked about it that much. It was just there. And when I started my research into Nicola Piramalo, the first thing that I found in the Libro d'Oro was that he married an Amelia Caracciolo in 1882. And so that made sense because my grandmother was born in 1883. But I had never heard the name Caracciolo before. And so I called my cousin that lived with my grandmother, and I asked her, and she said, yes, of course, that's Nanny's mother's name. And everything matched up. My father was Nicola. He was the second son, and my aunt was Amelia. She was the first daughter. So all of that made sense. But I don't trust anything. So I had to keep digging and digging and digging. And I found this link to the Caracciolo family and be able to trace me back to the first Caracciolo in Naples in 950 AD. And through that family, I just found all of these amazing things.
Wow. Letizia, explain to us, is this rooting or not?
Absolutely, yes, because routing has different applications. So routing is the general concept, but you can have a food and beverage routing, let's say a historical routing, like the way in which we actually curated Bob's first routing, family history routing with us. And is definitely digging. This the verb used by Bob is digging, because you go down, you immerse, you plunge into the roots deeper and deeper and go deeper. What is also interesting with the story, with Bob's story, is that he's connected to so many regions. So he can actually make a grand tour in Italy, researching his roots. Also, recently we discovered for Farnese his Abruzzese roots as well, because also in Penne there were some traces. There are some traces of Farnese. And so I leave the ground to Bob, because actually he has made a grand tour of his roots 2 years ago. And it was great because actually when you see he's a socia, historical person, you touch history, as I said, you touch actually history. And he also had a costume of Principe Marino. So I don't know. He has pictures with a costume, ancient costume of Marino. It's so.
Oh, yeah. Okay, as you can see, Bob, Letizia is trying to remind you of the fantastic trip you had a couple of years ago. And following Letizia, I want to show you something, if you don't mind, that hopefully will push you to come towards Tuscia as well. Do you mind, Bob? Can I?
No, sure, of course.
This is a video of last year, Tuscia In Fiore, Tuscia in Bloom, that is a regional festival in this area, Tuscia, north of Rome. Let me show you what we do during this festival. Hopefully it's enough to attract you and somebody. So this is it. This is Tuscia In Fiore. We look for a small borgo that is like village. that is typically scarcely populated, where things slow down a lot. And we create this event that attracts tons of people, and looks like we are successful so far. And we are about to start. Saturday and Sunday, we're going to start in the same place of the video. Does it look attractive, Bob?
Absolutely, yeah. And one of the goals that I have in doing what I do is to try and get more people to do what I did, have a rooting tour with Letizia, but also discover themselves, because that's what really happens. Growing up, I always referred to myself as Italian. When I was in the 1950s and 60s, when somebody would ask you, what are you? You would always say Italian. And then we became Italian Americans. And certainly when we go to Italy, we're just Americans. But, but by the time I left Calabria, I felt Italian. And that's the way you feel when you go to the hometown. And a lot of people go to Italy, but they don't discover their roots. And I try to say to them, what's the point in going if you're not going to discover your roots?
Bob, you mentioned something about what you do. What do you do?
Well, I have a blog, a YouTube channel. I have a podcast, and after a few years of doing my research, what happened was I started to write it down and created the blog, but that was only a one-way thing. So I created the podcast because I wanted to hear other people's stories, and they're so amazing. The stories are similar but different, and I truly believe that some of us are just chosen in the family, because I have a lot of cousins, and there's only maybe one besides me that really does the research. So to me, it's very important to get the message out there for that reason. But also, I feel that Italian Americans are starting to lose their heritage, which is not a good thing.
Yeah, but Bob, there is Letizia. Don't forget.
Oh yes,
gonna reach out. She's gonna fix the problem. So Letizia, how do we fix the problem?
We fix the problem actually raising the motivation, because roots tourism is all about giving answering questions, but these questions sometimes you don't know. So it's important, the knowledge, the information, and once you give and you share knowledge, then you start wondering why something has happened. You start asking yourself some questions, and the answer is always roots, not roots tourism, but roots culture first of all. And after that, then the need and actually the desire to find your roots. And because when you have to replace roots with stories, so these are all stories, our stories. And what is also important is that we have a common historical memory. So
We have some trouble with Letizia's connection. Letizia, if you can hear me, please come back to us. So I don't know what's wrong with Letizia's connection. Unfortunately, it goes and comes. So Bob, I want to say something a little bit stupid, maybe. So there are only two type of American: those that have been in Italy and have a wonderful story to tell, and those that haven't been in Italy and they want to go to have a great story to tell.
Yeah, and I'd say there's a third group that has done a lot of research, but they haven't had the time to go, or maybe they don't have the means to go. But they do a lot of research, like myself, and that way, I think they're connected.
So I hope you next time you come around, you stop by Tuscia. This is the land of Giulia Farnese and Alessandro Farnese. You have got to stop by, right?
I will definitely try and get there. Yes, for sure.
Very good. Letizia, any better? Letizia, can you hear me?
coming back, because Yes, yes. I'm sorry for this technical issue,
don't worry.
but I'm in in sort of castle, and so there are stones and walls that are very thick, and I have very few, very little coverage. Yeah.
So Letizia, before we're close to
Can you hear
finish,
me?
but yes, let me ask you one thing. What do you think
Hello?
could be a good help for American Italian like Bob? What can we do? What can you and I can, or the lawyers or whoever? What can we do to help them? No, Letizia, you couldn't hear me?
Giulio, I'll give you my perspective on that question.
Please do.
I think there are so many Italian Americans now, like myself, that are looking to get Italian citizenship. But it's very difficult, especially since now with the pandemic, the council is just overwhelmed with petitions. I mean, I'm 6,000 on the list here. I know somebody else in Miami is like 7,000. I'm actually working with a lawyer because he could petition my children at the same time he does me. And I understand that the Italian government wants to make sure that we are who we are. But if there's anything that the Italian government can do to speed up the process, I think more and more Americans would come and visit, stay longer, buy a home, retire there once they had their citizenship. So, if there's anything anybody could do over there, fast track that stuff.
I couldn't agree more. There has been a lot of discussion at the government level, and unfortunately, we had a leader that went to the sky, meaning left us. He was really going for it. First, he created this idea of letting Italians that live abroad to vote. And second, he wanted to make it very easy to get a passport. Unfortunately, passed. So that's a problem, unfortunately.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
That was
But,
a problem.
that's I think that's one of the biggest things that
I agree.
we see.
In fact, recently the Italian government sponsored, a project to try to establish some kind of first spot place in each region, so that they would help with this kind of problem. Okay, Bob, it has been a great time. Before I let you go, is there something you want to tell us and I didn't let you say?
I would just say this, for anybody who has planning a trip to Italy, add an extra day or two, get to the hometown, get to the small town where you came from, because that's the real Italy, and that's where you're going to feel Italian.
That's well said, my friend. So let's talk business. So are we going to do some live show together? Are you going to have me on your podcast? What's going on? Come on, let's talk business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We have to, I'll have to send you some dates, and because I book like months out in advance, and I have so many people that want to come on, but we'll definitely get you on in the next month or two.
Okay, so let me tell you this. So it's okay. I can live without. But if you do come across somebody that comes from our region, please let me know.
Sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I've interviewed somebody from the region. I just have to go back. I have over 300 episodes, so I don't remember everybody.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Hey, Bob, you are such a great guy. You must be Italian.
All my grandparents were born in Italy. I don't think you could get more Italian than that.
So I don't know if you told me, where in Italy your grandparents?
My mom's family come from Torito in Puglia, and they came in 1915. And my dad's parents were both born in the Naples, or the suburbs of Naples. My grandfather was born in Pagani, and my grandmother was born in Cercola.
Napoli people, Naples people, or people from Naples, they are so much fun. They're just hilarious and they always entertain. There is a guy that makes pizza in my area. Man, his little shows on Instagram and so forth are fantastic. You can't help yourself. You have got to laugh at his fantastic video. It's just a specialty. So congrats, I guess. It's part of your heritage, right?
Yeah. And, and that's the other interesting thing when people are looking for their roots, they really have to look hard, because I was always told that my grandparents were from Naples, never what cities they were. And I had my grandfather, they said he was born in Caserta, and then they said somebody else said Salerno. And then I, finally was able to get his birth record and found out that he was born in Pagani. So, and the family migrated from different places. So, you have to really look hard.
You have to dig. Okay, so here is how we conclude the show. Bob Sorrentino, the great grandson of Alessandro Farnese, Pope Paul III, says you gotta dig it. Thank you, Bob. It has been a great time.
Yeah, same here. Thank you.
It is my pleasure to say goodbye to Bob, and hopefully we will meet in the Giulia Farnese area, Tuscia, sometime soon. Bye, Bob.
Bye. Ciao.
Regista, com'è andata oggi?
Bene, benissimo, come sempre. Ci vediamo alla prossima, Giulio.
Dalla Tuscia